Great. Today for math, we're just going to be reviewing some of the shapes that we've been talking about. We have learned about so many different shapes, and today we're just going to review them. So we're going to start with 2D shapes. You do not need to write this down in your journal. This is just a lesson where you can listen and review the shapes with me. So we're going to start with 2D shapes. These are flat shapes that do not have dimension. So I'm going to use my pattern blocks, and technically, these are technically 3D shapes because they have some dimension to them. They're not totally flat, but they represent the flat 2D shape. So that's why I'm going to use them to talk about my 2D shapes today. So I'm going to first start with this yellow one. You might already know, but this is a hexagon and it has 6 sides. Now, I like to remember that it's a hexagon with 6 sides because hex kind of reminds me of the word 6. It has a similar sound, similar letters with the X. So I like to remember hexagon. I almost think to myself, sixagon. And the hexagon has 6 sides. The next shape that I'm going to do is this one. We know by well now that this is a trapezoid. And a trapezoid has those 4 sides. And it has one set of parallel lines. There are these ones that run across the top, remember? There are lines that could go on forever that will never ever cross, and they stay across from each other like that, like train tracks. One set, of parallel lines. My next shape as I work through the pattern blocks is this guy. We know that this is a rhombus. It has those 4 sides, but it does not have any right angles, and that's what makes it different from a square. That's what makes it different because squares have right angles. This one doesn't. Remember, I like to think of it as a square that got blown over by the wind or pushed over by the wind. So this angle here is smaller than a right angle, and this one is bigger, so no right angles there. The next shape that I am going to share with you is this one. This one is also technically a rhombus, so that's why I want to share it with the rhombus, because it's a square that just got pushed over way far to the side. I'll put it that way so you can kind of compare it to the blue one. I also like to think of this one as a diamond because it is like a diamond shape when I turn it this way. But again, this one has 4 sides and no right angles, so I'll categorize it with the rhombus shape. Next up, we have our triangle. This one we all know really well. This one has 3 sides. And actually, that's what tri means. Tri means 3 sides. When you were a kid, if you ever rode a tricycle that has 3 wheels, it's the same thing. Tri means 3 sides. 3 sides on my triangle. Last but not least, my pattern blocks, I have the square. We know this one has 4 sides. And they are all sides are exactly the same. That's what makes it a square. That's what makes that one special. So those are my 2D shapes, my pattern blocks, I should say, but I wanted to add in one more that's actually not in there. I have this shape, and it might look kind of like a hexagon to you, but this one, I'm going to trace it on my paper. This one actually has 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 5. This shape has 5 sides. Oops, knocked off some of my shapes here. This shape actually has 5 sides, and we call this one a pentagon. This is a new shape for us, and I'm going to underline the words penta. The way I remember that this shape has 5 sides is I actually count the letters in the word pentagon. I have 1 letter, 2 letters, 3, 4, 5. I mean, there are more letters in the word pentagon. There are 8 letters, but in that part, penta, it says that is 5 letters, and that's how it helps me remember that a pentagon has 5 sides. So those are my 2D shapes, second grade. In a separate video, I'm going to be talking about the 3D shapes just to review them, and then you're going to have a chance to do some more riddles. But this time, they're not just quadrilaterals. They're any shapes that you're going to be solving the riddles for.